Hello, welcome to Pastor Jerome TV. I'm your host, Pastor Jerome Davidson. Just want to kind of help you out with some tips on how to ask a man out on a date. I know the first thing that most of y'all are going to say about this video is that it's noisy. You'll see here, it's a water fountain making that noise. I like to come here to this mall, catch a movie sometimes, hang out with some friends, meet some friends here, and just hang and chill. How to ask a man for a date. And I know that the first thing that you're probably thinking right off, because the church has done not so good a job on teaching our women about relationships, you know. But the first scripture you're thinking in your mind is probably Proverbs 18:22. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth the favor of the Lord. Yes, wonderful. And I believe that scripture is wonderful for a man seeking your hand in marriage. But I believe that you should use your people skills and your vocal skills and your abilities to talk to people and developing friendships and relationships. Let's say if you have a restaurant and you're an excellent cook, you have the restaurant is laid out, you have your staff trained, everything is good, the ambiance of the restaurant is just on point, everything is just nice, but you haven't marketed, you haven't even advertised. You're just sitting back waiting for people to discover your restaurant, and eventually some people will, and sometimes those restaurants turn out to be very great, but it takes a long time to get that word of mouth going. And instead of going out to business meetings and taking some money and budgeting for a marketing plan, you're just sitting back waiting for people to come to you. And I think that that's the problem with a lot of our women in the church. We teach them how to be sanctified and to keep themselves out of sin and keep themselves, from, men that's seeking, just to get into their clothes or whatever. But sometimes we don't teach people how to have relationships, the proper way to have a relationship. And I don't think that there's a problem for women asking men out on a date. But let me give you a couple of ways on how to do it. Okay, just three quick tips before I go in here and meet my friends and hang out. This is my day off, and I'm sharing some tips. I love people. I'm a people person, and I just love people, and I love sharing the information and knowledge that I do have, and maybe help you. So anyway, the first thing that you want to do in asking a man for a date is go back to high school. Those high school days when you sent that note, or maybe you send a friend. One of the things you want to do is send a friend to a person that you're interested in, a man that you're interested in, and ask your friend to ask them of his availability. What does he think about you? Y'all know how to do it, and that way that kind of softens the blow. If you're the kind of person who's shy and you don't know how to approach a man and how to do that, then you can always send a friend to help you get the job done. And that's really nice. I'm gonna tell you, as a man, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see that being a problem. On my job, I was in a counseling session with just recently, and this happens to me a lot of times because people send their friends to me in church and stuff like that because they know I'm single. So I'm in a counseling session with this young lady who's having some problems, and she wanted to have one of her close friends who was also a counselor for her to be present, just for emotional. She wanted emotional support. So the lady was in there, and I guess she was checking me out. And so at the end of that, when it was over, the girl that I was counseling called me. She said, "My friend is really interested in you, and she's interested in you." And I said, "Oh, I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think she was a loose woman. I didn't think she was do this with all men. I wouldn't think nothing. I thought it was pretty cool. I was going to take her out on a date until I discovered that she was a Jehovah's Witness, so I'm not going to go out with that." So, but anyway, I'm always up to have a good time and just hang out and get something to eat and stuff like that. It's not a sin. The sin is when people do stuff beyond that. Okay, so that's number one. Ask a friend to do it. Number two, invite him to a group setting. Invite him to a group setting. And you set up something through your son's football team or your son's basketball league or through the church or through your family. And you just ask him to be a part of your group. Hey, we're having a meeting, we're hanging out, we're going to be talking some business, we're going to be talking, just whatever you're talking about. and you invite him, say, hey, I want you to be my guest, and you just go out, and that way you get a chance to see him in the midst of your friends, and he gets a chance to see you being adored and being liked by your friends, and he gets a chance to see you, the way you conversate, the way you relate to people, and maybe he could see the value in you being around his friends and family, and that's a good way of doing it. Just invite them out to a regular little sit down, and that softens the blow too. If y'all was just going out by yourself and it was just the two of you, let's say that the person don't have much conversation or you don't have much conversation, and that softens the blow. It kind of softens the cushion, just in case you two don't have much to talk about. But then at the end of this group session, you can call them the next day or text them the next day and say, hey, what did you think about that? And that gives you something to conversate over. It helps develop a conversation. It's nothing like having good conversation with somebody, because that's the beginning of a good friendship. That's the beginning of a good relationship. And it's really the foundation of a real good relationship, the way you two can communicate. And that way you can check out his communication style. And then lastly, the quick thing that I want to say is this: meet for coffee. Meet for coffee. Don't ride in the same car. You ask the person to meet you at a coffee place, and then when you get there, because you invited him, you pay for the coffee. And if he insists to pay for the coffee, well, then let him be a man and pay for the coffee. But the reason why I say meet the man there at the coffee place, because sometimes riding in a car is kind of close proximity, and it's almost like an intimate setting. So some people are not comfortable with that, especially with somebody they don't know, and it feels more like you're like a date almost. But if you meet them at the coffee shop, people meet at the coffee shop. People have coffee all the time, so it's not a date. You meet people at Starbucks and different coffee places all the time to talk over business, church stuff, socials, planning, and all that kind of stuff. And so you just invite them for coffee, and then when you invite them there, you have something to talk about. You say, hey, I want to invite you for coffee. Some things I want to just talk about and chat up, and we can chop it up. And you have your conversation laid out and how you're going to direct it. You don't just go invite them for coffee and you don't have anything to talk about. You sit him down, and all of a sudden you say, well, how you doing? That's that's kind of boring. You invited me for coffee to ask how I'm doing, for real. So that's just a couple of tips. There's nothing wrong with inviting somebody out, especially if you're a woman, inviting a man out for coffee. Loosen up. It's not unholy. It's not, the church has done a terrible job in this area. And use your people skills, use your verbal skills, and invite the guy out. And don't be sensitive if the guy does not want to go out with you. If he doesn't show up for any of the meetings, if you say, hey, I got something to do, well, then you just know that person is not interested, and you move on to the next one. They say this, when they're talking about, you hang around with people that fish, you got to put multiple lines in the water with multiple different kinds of bait. You understand? And so you've been sitting back waiting because of Proverbs 18:22, he that findeth a wife, you've been waiting. That's been your pole in the line now for a number of years. And now you got to get a different pole and use some different bait. And that is, just ask a dude out on a date. It doesn't even have to be serious. It's nothing serious. We're just hanging out, we're just chilling, talking, and that's going to be it. There's nothing more to it than that. And you're getting to know somebody, and you have some great conversation, and you're being relaxed, you're laughing, you're conversating, and that's it. And that way, you make yourself available, you see his availability, you showing him that you're available. And sometimes when you're a good conversator and you have good advice, you have good things to talk about, some men, they like that. And they might see that as an asset in their life. I mean, they might start calling you more frequently, and all of a sudden they're calling you and asking you out on a date. But anyway, be blessed. I hope this tips help you. Hope it's a blessing to you. Share this advice with a friend. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to my channel. We have a lot more coming your way as the summer approaches. I know you're blessed. I know God is with you. You should be blessed if you're watching this channel. Praise God, because the blessings of the Lord maketh rich